Today, we are going to make an encapsulated silicone prosthetic. Welcome to Grandpa's Special Effects Lab. Let's build this thing. These are a variety of sculpts that I made out of monster clay. This is what's called a gang mold. It's a variety of sculpts that will be part of one big mold. The clay around each piece is called the flashing. Its purpose is to give us a nice, clean, fine edge, perfect for blending into the skin. Now, you don't have to do a gang mold. You can make these as separate little pieces, which is what I've been doing. This is actually my first gang. This is the silicone I use for most of my molds. There's a part A and a part B. They get mixed together at a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning 1 ounce to 1 ounce, or 5 ounces to 5 ounces, or 10 ounces to 10 ounces, etc. After the two parts are thoroughly mixed together, I pour the silicone into the mold. I use a high pour method. So you hold the container about a foot above the mold itself, and you let the silicone fill the mold in a nice thin stream. This helps to eliminate bubbles. After the mold is done being filled, it takes about 3 to 5 hours to set. You also have to make sure that your mold is nice and level, because if it's not, it's going to hurt you in the long run. Okay, before we move on, you gotta realize that you gotta be safe with these materials. This stuff is nasty. So it's very important when working with this stuff, make sure you have plenty of ventilation. I got the fan over there, it's pulling fresh air into the area where I'm working. Here I'm making sure the mold is nice and clean. We don't want any gunk mixed in with our silicone appliance from the previous pull. So take your time, there's no need to rush. I'm using acetone to get all the leftover cap plastic from the previous pull. Very, very important, make sure you wear a respirator when working with acetone. Next, we are going to spray a mold release. I use Mann's Ease Release 200. You want to spray in short spurts. Make sure you get full coverage. A little goes a long way. You don't need to go overboard with this stuff. More is not better. You will give the mold 2 coats. I usually wait 5 to 10 minutes in between each coat. Okay, next step, I'm gonna tint the silicone that I already measured out. I'm using Dragon Skin FX Pro silicone from Smooth On. Here you can see I'm adding a little bit of white. We're gonna use white, yellow, a little tiny bit of red, and a little bit of brown. And that's gonna give us a nice flesh color. This is gonna show you how little red. And here we go with the boring part of watching me mix. There's a little dab of brown, very, very little bit of brown. The brown, I used actually a little bit of oil paint, and it's really, really strong. So it only takes a very little bit. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that you make, because you're only going to mix part B with the tint. You want to make sure you make it darker than what you need. You have to realize that you're going to be mixing part A, so it's going to end up whiter when you mix them together. Next, we're going to mix all these with the acetone. So I use a little small 1 ounce cup. I do 1 ounce Baldies, do 3 ounces of acetone, and then I use that little glass bottle. That's what I use to mix it in. And then, because that bottle's got a nice little cap on it, and make it nice and tight. Remember, wear a respirator. Stuff is nasty. Then we're gonna fill this little bottle, see that little bottle, in with the acetone, and that's gonna be what goes onto my sprayer. And then we're gonna spray Baldies out onto the mold. Okay, this is me filling up that little glass jar that goes on the bottom of my airbrush. This is the total setup. Okay, I bought this airbrush at Harbor Freight. It was about $29. It's perfect to spray out all these with an acetone mix. Okay, when you spray, make sure you test your spray before you do anything, because you don't want it spitting gunk all inside your mold. You want to spray out on a nice little circular pattern. You want to get nice coverage, but you don't want it to be too thick. So you have to remember, you're going to be doing 2, 3, 4 layers probably, 3 or 4 layers probably. Not too heavy, nice and even. Okay, after you spray the boldies, you want to check it. So I take like a little needle and you pull it up and see it's perfect. So that's what you want. All right, next we're gonna move on to mixing the silicone. So you gotta remember, once we do this, you gotta get going. You gotta be prepared. You have to have everything in place because you only have a certain amount of time. I think with this, I wanna say you have 12 minutes. Usually what I do is I set my timer, which would be on my phone. I'm using my phone to record this, so I didn't set the timer. Anyway, you want to put part A and part B together. Remember, we made the part B tinted, and it was a little darker because this is why. We added another ounce of clear silicone. You have to mix this stuff really, really well. If you don't mix it well, it's not going to cure properly. So make sure you keep twisting and turning and scraping the bottom, scraping the sides and twisting and turning and scraping the bottom and twisting the sides. You gotta get it all mixed up. Okay, here comes the fun part. We're gonna fill the molds with silicone. So as you can see, it's like a nice steady stream. I pour the silicone into the middle of the mold. And what I'm basically trying to do is I'm trying to figure out how much silicone I'm gonna need for that one. And then I'm gonna move on to the next. I'm gonna put a little silicone on each one of these 2 little cuts. And then, as you'll see very shortly, I'm going to spread the silicone out. Sorry to interrupt your video. If you don't mind, please hit subscribe and like. Thank you very much. Back to our show. I know the excitement is overwhelming watching me spread silicone, but this is important, right? So I like to get a nice even coat over all the pieces before I do the final swipe. Now you got to remember, you have some time. We've got like 12 minutes before the stuff starts to set, but we don't have that much time. So you can play with it, but don't get crazy. I use a spackle knife that I bought from Home Depot as my final drag across. Works perfect, makes it nice and clean. All right, we got that. Now we're gonna go in with a Q-tip and we're gonna make sure all our edges are nice and clean. You don't want any silicone on that edge because that'll just come across as like a lump on your skin. You have to be careful. You don't wanna mess up the baldies. You don't wanna mess up the cap plastic. So you wanna go nice and easy. And you can see the difference. You can see the end of the sculpt and then it gets real shiny. That's what you want. You want that shiny part. You want just the baldies there. Okay, when you're all done cleaning it up, the edges are nice and clean, then you're gonna spray the baldies over everything again, 3, 4, maybe 5 coats. And then this is what it looks like. You can see it's got kind of a haze to it. It definitely dulls it out. You wanna make sure you have nice coverage, not too thick. You wanna make it nice and even. And then you got yourself an encapsulated silicone prosthetic. Okay, here we go. This is the real tedious part. So the silicone takes about 30 minutes to set up, and then you have to sit down and you have to get it out of the mold. Now, it should be a pretty easy process as long as you used enough release, which I'm sure you did if you watched this. You want to take your time don't go too fast. You got to be gentle with it because otherwise it's going to rip, and you don't want it to rip. You want to cover everything in baby powder. I should have done that first, but I didn't, so I'm doing it now. Thank God I remembered before I started lifting the whole thing up. The baby powder makes it so that the boldies and the silicone don't stick with each other, because it definitely will. It'll make a mess, and then your edges will stick. So you just want to keep working it. You want to work under. You want to go nice and slow. You want to use the brush to help you get everything up. Now you can see I'm constantly putting powder on the brush, and I'm lifting a little bit, and I'm brushing under. I'm taking my time. You'll see when you do it. You probably can't see it on the camera. The pieces kind of get stuck in there a little bit. So you got to work it. And then you just want to remember to keep putting powder on your brush, because you definitely don't want the pieces to touch each other unless they're powdered. And there you go, got it out. You got yourself nice encapsulated silicone. Okay, next step, we're going to trim all of the excess, and we're going to separate the three pieces from each other. So we use a pair of cuticle scissors, and this is another little tedious project. You want to take your time because you don't want to rip anything. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but you want to keep it nice and neat. So as you can see, I'm just going nice and slow, taking my time. You want to cut through the rubber where you can, and then you can work on like all that extra cap plastic. And you can see I'm pulling like that extra cap plastic, and if you pull it a little tighter, and then you can use the cuticle scissors, you can go along. It definitely comes off pretty easy. And honestly, you don't have to do this, but it definitely looks, they look nicer. They definitely look nicer. There you go. Encapsulated silicone. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you for watching Grandpa's FX Lab. Could you please help me out by subscribing and liking my video? Thanks, and have a great day.